Welcome to a new episode of BrainNet Executive Talks. Today we will talk about the pump industry, setting up a new plant in China and running an international purchasing office. Right next to me sits Richard Sollars, head of the China Sourcing Center here in Suzhou of Sulzer Pumps, one of the global leading manufacturers in the pump industry. Welcome, Richard, or I think I should rather say, Ni hao.
Ni hao, Barbara. 欢迎你来 Suzhou. Hello, Barbara. Welcome to Suzhou.
Richard, Sulzer Pumps just recently opened up on the greenfield here in Suzhou a state-of-the-art plant. Could you describe and share with us what the kind of help and support was from a procurement perspective you gave to make it such a success?
The major areas of procurement support were checking reference sites, checking to ensure that the suppliers we had selected would adhere to Sulzer corporate values. We wanted to ensure safety on our site. We wanted to ensure ethical business conduct. So as part of my responsibilities, I would visit these suppliers, visit the reference sites, and confirm what the prospective suppliers had claimed they could do. It was very interesting because as visiting these sites and doing the reference checks, everything was laid bare, whether it be good or bad or ugly. So we saw some very interesting reference sites, and we saw some very interesting suppliers, some with high qualifications and some with qualifications that weren't so good.
What were the major challenges or even difficulties you had to face, especially meeting the timeline of this huge project?
One of the major challenges we faced building a factory of this type was the technical challenges. There are few examples of a factory of this type being built in China. The other challenge was we had to gather a collection of specialists from all over the world, from our other Sulzer entities, to come and assist us. We gathered consultants, we worked closely with the local Suzhou governments to build this facility. And there are very few examples of a facility like this in Suzhou that has the ability to test the wide range of pumps that we can here in Suzhou. With that said, we had enormous amount of assistance from the local authorities in the Suzhou New District. They were instrumental in helping us obtain the permits we required in achieving what we have here at this facility in Suzhou. So although it was challenging, in the end it was very rewarding and we were very successful.
Richard, you are a high-profile expert with a long track record of global sourcing experience. May I ask you, what was for an expert like you the major surprising thing that happened to you in the course of local-for-local sourcing here in China?
Barbara, one of the more interesting or surprising facets of working here in China and dealing with the challenges of procurement is that when I think I know something or something has become constant, I discover that it's not constant. China is ever changing. Nothing can be taken for granted. The supplier that you use today may not be the supplier that you use tomorrow. The supplier that you don't want to use today may be the supplier that is developed tomorrow. Change is constant. The situation here is very fluid and ever changing. I can't take for granted quality, I can't take for granted price or even lead time. So I constantly have to be on my toes, I constantly have to be looking over the horizon and developing new suppliers. And the existing suppliers, I have to continually maintain surveillance or continually keep an eye on the operations and keep an eye on what's coming in from them to ensure that they maintain the high standards of quality and also they maintain the competitive pricing that's required.
Richard, you did of course not only move here to Suzhou in China because of this project. Can you fill us in what makes your responsibility as leading the sourcing center here in China so interesting and exciting?
Barbara, I would say one of the more interesting facets of running a sourcing center here in China is bridging the cultural barriers, going through and understanding each other's cultures, going past stereotypes, trying to understand where my Chinese counterparts are coming from, and likewise educating them on the world outside of China. It's interesting that in China, many times they'll use the term Lao Wai, which means foreigner. And this is an all-encompassing term. It just means someone who's non-Chinese. So many times I'll challenge my coworkers who are Chinese, I'll say, well, yes, that person may be a Laowai or a foreigner, but that person brings with them their own home culture from whatever country they come from. They're not just a Laowai, they're a German, or they're an American, or they're an Englishman, or whatnot. And the same is true in China. I always try to go past just saying someone is Chinese, because one of the things I've discovered here is that the Chinese have a very broad culture from north to south. The way they look at problems, the way they will look at a particular thing or an item, the way they handle situations in the office is very different. So I've discovered that within China, within the Chinese, that I can't just bring out a stereotype of myself of saying, well, they're Chinese. No, these Chinese are individual based upon where they came from. It's been very interesting and fascinating for me to see how the different regions, how their development has been different, how linguistically they're different, the cuisine is different. It's a very diverse country, very diverse mindset from all the different regions. It's been very fascinating. It's been a very enjoyable, I've had a very enjoyable time here in China, and I've learned quite a lot about the culture.
Richard, that were very interesting and impressive insights into the challenges that Sulzer faced in China. I'd like to thank you for sharing these insights with us, or let me say, 谢谢.
不用谢，不用客气. Yeah, you're welcome. Glad you could be here.